Good evening and welcome to the Orange County School Board regularly scheduled meeting this Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. In a moment, I'm going to ask that everybody join us in a moment of silence, but and then we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, which we welcome you to join us with as well. Let me begin by calling on Member Lopez to lead us in both. Member Lopez.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me recognize Member Gould this evening, unfortunately.
Thank you, Chair. As we end our moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, I just wanted to bring some love around the families at Windermere High School. We had a loss there of a student today, and it is just a difficult moment for our entire community, but especially those immediately affected, as well as that student body, the teachers, and the community around it. So please wrap your prayers, thoughts, and love around that family at Windermere High School.
Thank you, and let me also recognize Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to do the same for the East Orange County. We lost 2 students last week to a murder-suicide, and we are a community in pain and a community in crisis, and so my heart goes out to everyone at Corner Lake Middle School and East River High. My thoughts, my prayers, not only myself, but the entire board are with you. And we're just so very sorry for all the pain that they're enduring right now.
Thank you. For those of you joining us for the first time, let me share with you that most of our meetings, we start our meetings with a lot of celebration of wonderful things that are happening here with our students. And today, unfortunately, what you probably don't hear as often, we're also here recognizing the loss of some of our students. This is our second loss of a student in Windermere High School in approximately a month. So we take all of these kids as if they're our own. And so we appreciate your prayers and support of the families, but the extended families of all of our children. Thank you. So we will move on to the special guest that we have here with us this evening. And we have a guest from Additions Financial. Representatives are here to present a check made possible through the School District Affinity Debt Credit Card Program. Every card transaction using a school district or high school affinity debt card contributes a donation from Addition Financial to the Foundation for Orange County Public Schools. And we are it's a great partner of ours. We're very, very proud to welcome our friend and our partner, President and CEO Kevin Miller. Mr. Miller, wonderful to have you with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, and good evening. On behalf of Addition Financial, we're proud to be a longstanding partner of Orange County Schools, offer the school district debit card program. OCPS holds a special place in our hearts, as we were founded more than 80 years ago by a group of dedicated OCPS teachers, and our partnership now is as strong as ever. We launched the school district debit card program in August 2009, creating a co-branded debit card that members could use to show off their pride with OCPS. Whenever someone uses the OCPS debit card, we set aside some money and do a donation to the schools. This year in 2019, we had a total donation from the use of the card of $57,345.39. Since the inception of this program, we've donated $553,610.64 back to the OCPS Foundation. Through our partnership, we've also been proud to offer our high school branch program, which currently operates in 5 Orange County high schools. We're pleased to announce we're going to be adding a 6th student-run branch at Edgewater High School next fall semester. We're also going to have at least 15 more internship opportunities for OCPS students. We look forward to continuing our partnership with OCPS. You guys have the most amazing staff. We love partnering with them. We love working with them. And I've brought along some of my staff with me here as well today, and we'd be happy to present you with our check.
Thank you. Can you bring your staff forward?
Sure. We've got Eddie Sanabria, Rich Barbary, Katie Thomason, and Kevin Doherty. And then
I'm sorry, Dr. Jenkins.
So I'm afraid he'll get away after the check presentation. I don't want Kevin to leave that podium without making another very special announcement. So excited it's going to hit the Tri-County area,
Right.
but this is the first time he'll have an opportunity to announce it here. So please tell us the latest secret.
Well, thank you. Dr. Jenkins, along with Dr. Griffin and Dr. Pace of the different school boards, all approached me about the exact same topic. And Dr. Jenkins, as you know, is a person that you can't really say no to. She asked if we could do something to help do at least our piece of helping to address fair housing, access to housing, more affordable housing. So what we did is we worked with Dr. Jenkins and with her staff. We're rolling out what we're calling the A+ Mortgage Program, which is a program that's intended to be for teachers, family members of teachers, family members of anybody that's working at the district. Will they be able to make housing much more affordable? It'll require less money down. It'll require a more affordable overall package. And we really look forward to rolling this out. And I think it's going to be a great product for us. We actually just opened a branch just a block from here where we hope to see people from this building coming over and signing up for the new program, where we'll be able to introduce the new product to do what we can to address the affordable housing issue. So.
That was awesome. Kevin, that is wonderful news. Thank you. You want to bring your team forward? Sure. But we'll take it. Yes. All right, thank you so much. We are also celebrating several proclamations this evening. The first is proclaiming February 27th, 2020 as National Digital Learning Day here in Orange County Public Schools. I'm not going to read the proclamation, but I do want to say that Orange County Public Schools is certainly leading the way when it comes to digital learning in the nation. And we're also recognizing and proclaiming March 2020 as National Social Work Month here in Orange County Public Schools, something that is near and dear. I hear board members, you may not hear it. Aww. So where are our social workers that are in the audience? If y'all can stand so we can just thank you for your wonderful work. It is such important work in our community, and it also is hard work. It tugs at your heart all the time. I don't know how you do what you do, but I sure am grateful for the fact that you do, so thank you. We are also proclaiming March 2020 as Purchasing Month here in Orange County Public Schools, and I would like to ask Robert Warmberg, Senior Director of Procurement, to stand so that we can recognize him. Where are you, Robert? Yes. So some people that are here are probably wondering, why do we care about procurement? Well, we care for a couple of reasons. One, because we want to make sure we can buy things at the lowest possible price so that more dollars are spent on teacher salaries and educating our children. And two, because we want to make sure we do that fairly. And both of those are extremely important to this board. Robert, you do a phenomenal job. Thank you. And we're also proclaiming March 2020 as Youth Visual and Performing Arts Month here in Orange County Public Schools. And for that, I want to call on Member Gould, Vice Chair Gould, who this is an issue that is extremely important to her, and she started a Principals Appreciation Breakfast that we just had the opportunity to enjoy last week. So I wanted to call on her for the proclamation and a few remarks.
Good evening, everyone, again. And the visual and performing arts, along with our athletics program, have really been made possible because of the referendums that this community has supported over the years. And that's why this is so important. So many communities don't get to have these programs. So the proclamation reads, Youth and Visual and Performing Arts Month, whereas a visual and performing arts education contributes powerful educational benefits to all elementary and secondary students, and whereas a visual and performing arts education develops student creative problem-solving abilities deemed essential for 21st century success, and whereas a visual and performing arts education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities, and whereas a visual and performing arts education reinforces and brings to life the students learn in other subjects, and whereas a visual and performing arts education interrelates student learning in arts production, performance, history, cultural criticism, and aesthetics, and whereas benefits of art education form the basis of world-class standards developed by the U.S. Department of Education and the National Endowment for the Arts, and whereas our national leaders have acknowledged the necessity of including visual and performing arts experiences in all students' education. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the School Board of Orange County does hereby proclaim March 2020 as Youth Visual and Performing Arts Month. And it is amazing. As the chair discussed, we have a partnership with United Arts where they honor all of our principals and the programs that they foster within their schools. But each year they pick 3 very special principals who do extraordinary things within their school communities, 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. And every year I think I can't get blown away, or it can't top the year before, and it does. From the art on the table that's created by the visual arts teachers to the student performers, and especially the testimonies from students, teachers, and parents who come to talk about the impact of these principals and their teams. It's just truly an amazing morning. And I think almost all of our board members were there and got to really experience the love in that room for the arts. So thank you to the superintendent and the whole team, and especially to our principals who really make an amazing environment possible in each one of our schools.
Yes, thank you. And you said it so well, but this is only my 2nd year, and I thought the first one was phenomenal. And like you said, above all else is those testimonials. Oh my gosh, the change. We know our principals and our teachers are changing lives every day, but when you hear a student talk about it, it's just amazing. Good stuff, great stuff. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to our strategic plan update on career and technical education, and Dr. Armbruster is here to give that presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, school board members, and Superintendent Jenkins for the opportunity to share our CTE strategic plan update with you this evening. Our work in CTE is driven in large part by the 5-year integrated business plan shown above. By working towards these goals, we have continued to expand CTE opportunities at the secondary level and have seen exciting growth in our CTE programs across all levels. For tonight's update, we will be focused on secondary students as designated in the business plan. The figures above represent our progress throughout the years in attaining our goals as laid out by the strategic plan. We will be exploring these figures throughout this presentation. These figures also represent the most recent data as evidenced in our CTE scorecard. As you can see on the chart, we have exceeded our initial goal of 30,809 secondary students enrolled in the CTE program by the year 2020 by almost 20,000 students thus far. We will continue to grow this number through initiatives discussed this evening. We have also exceeded our goal of increasing the number of graduating seniors earning at least 1 occupational completion point, breaking 5,000 students with the 2017-18 senior class. We have seen explosive growth in the number of secondary students earning industry certifications across the district in recent years. After initially exceeding our target number in 2015-16, we have continued to grow industry certifications earned by secondary students. This past year, we made a strategic decision to focus our career and technical education programming more strictly on subject areas that would lead to high-quality, industry-recognized certifications. With the subsequent removal of some of the lesser recognized CT credentialing programs, we saw a slight dip in the total number of secondary students earning industry certifications across the district. And while we expect that total number to subtly fluctuate over the coming years, we are confident this industry-centric targeted program strategy will lead to more students than ever earning high-quality, high-value industry certifications, while also preparing them for both career and college pathways. One area that has remained relatively flat in our business plan is the retention rate of secondary students enrolling in CTE programs. However, it is deceptive because it is actually due to the continued expanding of secondary programs, meaning we have more first-year students each year who have not yet moved to a second class. Until we slow our new program growth and move closer to full capacity, this number will continue to flatten, but should still meet or exceed our goal by 2020. Engaging students in career and technical education programming remains one of our key goals. This chart illustrates what category each of our adult and secondary students engaged in CT are in, including high school students in post-secondary adult vocational programs at the high school campus and on the OTC campuses, post-secondary adult vocation programs at a technical college campus, and secondary, middle, and high school students enrolled in secondary CT courses at their home school. Over the past 6 years, we have seen a total growth of roughly 74% in student counts across all district CT programming. Some highlights of how we are increasing secondary student participation in CT includes the Project Lead the Way initiative. Project Lead the Way provides a well-researched, comprehensive approach to hands-on STEM education by working with industry to continually introduce emerging technologies within each program. We have invested in the growth of these programs through the $2 million Lockheed Martin grant and are focused on opportunities for students in the fields of engineering, biomedical, and computer science. As of this school year, 17 OCPS high schools offer the engineering program, 10 offer the biomedical science programs, and 43 middle schools offer the Project Lead the Way Gateway program. 7 high schools offer both the engineering and biomedical programs. Those schools are Apopka, Dr. Phillips, Olympia, Timber Creek, University, Windermere, and Winter Park. We would also like to add that during the 2018-19 school year, over 12,000 Project Lead the Way Gateway semester-length courses were completed by 6th through 8th graders. Ocoee, Wekiva, and Cypress Creek currently offer only Project Lead the Way Biomedical. However, Cypress Creek will start engineering this next year. NAF, formerly known as the National Academy Foundation, another strong CT initiative, is a national network of education, business, and community leaders who work together to ensure high school students are college, career, and future ready. You can see our steady growth year over year in both open academies on individual campuses and on all high schools, with NAF academies since 2012-13. And once again, we now have NAF academies in every traditional high school. Another highlight includes the growth of agriculture programs across the district, as well as student involvement in the largest career and technical student organization in the country, FFA. As you can see, we have grown our agricultural programs and teachers almost every year since 2012 and 13 in our secondary schools. Our FFA student involvement and competition participation has hit record highs across OCPS as well. I'm also happy to report that we have agricultural programming in all 20 traditional high schools, and we are now moving to increase the numbers in our middle schools. Speaking of agriculture, our partnership with the Four Rivers Foundation is continuing to grow, and we will soon be opening our greenhouse at Edgewater High School, thanks to the effort of the team from Four Rivers in raising $450,000, including a $145,000 donation from Dr. Phillips Charities. Thanks to the tremendous support of Laura Gilbert, we were able to sell our first crop to OCPS this last spring. And one day this week, all student salads at Ocoee High School were completely created from Ocoee produce grown on campus. This model has created sustainability in our future horticulture programs and provides fresh produce to students. Regarding our wonderful partnership with Dr. Phillips Charities, we are thrilled with the continued development of the first ever LPN program on a high school campus in Orange County at Jones High School as part of their medical magnet. The picture above is of Dr. Jenkins and the first cohort of juniors who will graduate in 2021 with both a high school diploma and their licensed practical nurse coursework completed. These students have made a tremendous commitment to their future career. They attended 6 weeks of summer school at our OTC Orlando campus last summer and will attend 6 weeks again this summer. They also devote 3 periods a day to their practical nursing classes during their junior and senior years. Dr. Phillips Charities is helping these students' dreams become realities with the financial support to assist with program expenses such as classroom equipment and supplies, student uniforms, and transportation to and from clinical sites, as well as assisting us in making connections within the community to allow these students to have access to clinical facilities that are usually reserved only for adult students. Our current Career and Technical Education Department has also made paid internships for current OCPS high school CTE students a priority. With a full-time district coordinator in place, we have leveraged our relationships with the business and industry community to create a quality career experience for students. As you can see, we have grown these opportunities exponentially from 37 in 2015-16 to 503 last year. Internally, the OCPS ITS department has hired 20 secondary CT information technology interns annually for the last years, with an even bigger commitment for the summer of 2020, agreeing to bring on 40 IT interns. We have also had placement at both our facilities department and our media department. We look forward to collaborating with even more OCPS departments and community partners to give our students these quality career experiences. A special thanks to OCPS Human Resources for collaborating with our department to make that a reality. Finally, just 3 weeks ago, we were promised an additional $420,000 from Orange County government to bring on another 200+ interns this summer. 4 years ago, we also moved to create an enhanced partnership entitled Tech Express, which would make it easier for students to move from one institution to the other, taking articulated credits with them. While these agreements had existed in the past, we had made little progress in encouraging students to take advantage, usually only 4 to 6 per year. Now, however, thanks to a commitment on both sides, we have had more than 570 students take advantage of this program over the last 3 years and enroll at Valencia College. These students move seamlessly from OTC to Valencia, taking up to 27 credits with them on their way to earning an AS degree to add to the industry credentials already earned through completion of a program at one of our campuses. Valencia invested by putting Tech Express advisors on each of our campuses, working with students as they complete their program with us to get them to continue on in their educational journey. Collaboration and participation in our local educational ecosystem is critical for our community success. As an update to OTC's Vision 2024, we're moving forward steadily with our comprehensive building plan as we shift to an institute model, beginning with the new OTC West campus, which will be built next to Ocoee High School. This campus will host our building construction and human services programs. Near the resorts and the fastest growing community in Orange County, students on both sides of the campus will have a variety of career opportunities available to them close to school. We are currently in the middle of designing the new campus. Our downtown campus will be home to our health sciences program. Located between Orlando Health and Advent Health, our students will be able to easily connect to the local medical systems. We've recently started our initial meetings and are diving into the redesign of the building in the months ahead. Our Winter Park campus will also be relocated. We will be moving adjacent to University High School on the east side of town. This project will be put out to bid later this calendar year. We will host our IT programming at this site, strategically located next to Research Parkway, Lockheed Martin, Siemens, and the University of Central Florida, to name a few. The intention is to enable students to easily connect to a variety of employment opportunities close to school. Our final campus, the South Campus, will be rebuilt and refurbished with a planned completion date of 2024. In addition to CTE programming, this site will also be home to our adult and general education main campus. Programming will include transportation, logistics, advanced manufacturing, and hospitality. We are currently working through all the logistics of program movement from site to site so that there is minimal interruption to students' opportunities while we work through this major transformation. The Institute model and program selection was based in large part on the 6 regional high-growth industries according to CareerSource Central Florida. This is indeed an exciting time for CTE and our future. We also look to our more than 55 program advisory boards made up of community leaders from more than 400 companies, both big and small, to ensure the most up-to-date equipment, curriculum, and workforce trends are being instituted throughout our programs. Speaking of change, while we are still for students, not profit, we wanted to tell a little more of our story. So this year our theme moved in a new direction, reinforcing the belief that there's more than one way to a great career. To exemplify that point to the community, we have engaged in a multi-channel advertising campaign featuring some of OTC's most successful alumni members in the local workforce. For example, Noble Thomas, commercial manager for Bright House Future Electric in Winter Garden, who, fun fact, also serves as the president of our FEET apprenticeship program, the largest apprenticeship program in the state of Florida, right here in Orange County, from which his 24-year-old son recently graduated to follow in his father's footsteps. You can see this campaign across town on billboards, Links bus shelters, and buses, as well as online through a variety of digital campaigns. I would like to end my presentation by showing Noble's alumni story in his own words.
My days are busy as manager of commercial operations, the largest department in our company with a team of 120 people. But I often think about the path I followed to get where I am today. It started in 9th grade when I shadowed an electrician for part of a school program. The experience opened my eyes to the possibility of having a great career working with my hands. The food service jobs I held after graduating high school left me wanting more. I enrolled at Orange Technical College to get the training I needed to become an electrician, and an instructor directed me to Florida Electrical Apprentice Training Program, or FEET as it is called. There, your employer pays for your tuition and you attend evening classes while also putting in your 40 hours a week. During my early years as a helper and electrical mechanic, I completed the FEET program and earned my license. This opened doors for me at Bright Future Electric, where I advanced through many roles, including superintendent, project manager, and now department manager. I'm grateful every day for the quality technical education I received from OTC. They gave me the skills needed to have a career I love. I've given back by serving as an instructor and now board president at FEET. I'm always moved as students tell me thank you at graduation. I know exactly what they're saying. I understand how life-changing it is to achieve your educational goals and pursue your dreams. I'm honored to be helping others find their way and to be playing a role in the development of a skilled workforce. I'm proud to say Orange Technical College is changing lives through education.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Members of the board, it goes without saying, we've said this on numerous occasions. Dr. Armbruster doesn't want to take credit, but his leadership has been a tremendous impetus behind all of our improvements, our phenomenal increases in our CTE programs, and in Orange Technical College's evolution. So kudos to him and his entire team. Happy to hear your discussion, answer any questions you might have.
Dr. Jenkins, thank you for saying that. You're absolutely right. I'm so glad you pointed that out. Member Gould, you're recognized.
One is a question, and then, well, actually, two are questions. The first question is, one of the things you didn't talk about, even with all of this expansion, is the funding and how we're doing it, because CTE is not funded the same way, and I know there's some challenges with that expansion. So if you could just talk about some of the things that we're trying to accomplish, not only through partnerships, but in educating our legislators and our community on that. And the second thing is, could you tell us the top 3 paying jobs where people have not gone on, at least yet, to traditional college or university, but have come right out of a skills-based program and gone into the workforce?
The first question regarding the funding, we are in fact funded differently. Our post-secondary programs are funded through what is called workforce development funding. And so it's a separate pot, which means that the dollars given to us, about $30 million a year, are, I can't spend that on secondary programming, and Dr. Jenkins can't spend K-12 dollars on post-secondary funding. So the difficulty with the 30 million is it's been within that frame for probably the last 12 years, 9 to 12 years. And the problem is the state funding for CTE is different than the FTE for K-12 in that in CTE, there is one pot of money, say $600 million. And it doesn't matter if you have 20 students in a program or 20,000 students in a program, the value per student goes down because the pot price stays the same. So in other words, the more students we actually enroll in CTE, the less dollars we get per student for CTE. And so it is difficult to not only expand programming and make the cost up, because every time you add more students, you devalue the cost per student. And the other part is startup dollars. Our funding model is based on in arrears, meaning that what we did 3 years ago is what begins to fund us for next year. So it's based on a 3-year average, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So for us, it takes us 3 years to receive the first dollar of new programs that we start. So it is an antiquated funding system, and we've had many conversations and sent many team members up, and school board members have also spoken to that they need to reevaluate the current funding model, or else we won't be the #1 CTE state in the nation in the current structure that we have. And it makes it very difficult for us, but we've been able to do it because we kind of led the way in some of the things we've done, which is getting CT programming down to high school students and that sort of thing. So we've been able to make it work, but we are getting near the threshold of where the dollars in are going to have a difficult time supporting the number of students that we're doing. So the funding is going to need to change for us to see growth like we've seen in the last 5 years.
Before you answer my second question, I think the point to highlight there is this will slow down our economic development, because if you can't have post-secondary or even young people coming out and getting ready because we can't recruit enough teachers and have enough infrastructure and all of those things, we can't have enough electricians, we can't have enough auto mechanics, which means things don't get built, things don't get made, things don't get fixed. And then the second one.
And really, it's a difficult to answer which particular jobs. I can tell you that, for example, in a welding program, we had 2 students who came out and they wanted to work in the space program, so they learned a specific type of welding. And they actually, one was a former student of mine at West Orange, and another was a former student of mine at Ocoee. And they came out, decided to do that, and they got into the space program. So they're working for the people that are putting the satellites all over. I think OneNet, I think is what it's called. They came out with 1 year of training, which they were able to get Pell Grant qualification for, came out making $80,000 a year plus benefits. I think that's pretty substantial when my wife has been working as a teacher for 35 years and hadn't hit it yet. But she's working at it. I told her, go back and get your welding certificate, and we'll see what we can do. The other, of course, in the medical field, I met this week, actually. I'm at that age where I have to go to certain appointments. My nurse practitioner, who I met with, actually started as an LPN with our Orlando campus in 1978, went to Valencia, got her RN, went to UCF, got her BSN, and then many years later got her nurse practitioner. And so in the medical field, while you may start maybe a little less to begin with, the pathways that are there and available are unbelievable, and they go in a very nice structure. So medical is big, and of course IT. IT is moving away, dare I say it, from college degrees to certifications, because students who have 10-year-old computer science college degrees, if they're not current, are not really valued, where a student who has their current certifications in different programs. We had a young person that we highlighted who's making $100,000 plus, who got his first 2 certifications through us and then has gone on to get certifications because the company he works for pays him to go get his certifications. And so you can look at that as reimbursement, or you can look at it as scholarship. And so they're earning scholarships in the IT field. So those 3 come to mind. But honestly, construction right now, There's high need in construction. Hospitality in our area, sometimes it gets a bad name because it starts low, but in hospitality, for example, at the Marriott, you can start out as a dishwasher and be a general manager if you work hard and do what you need to do. And so there's potential there for great growth as well.
Absolutely, and I know those people. I know those people that started out at very, very entry-level positions and became the general manager. It's remarkable, and it's great that we have an important role in that. Let me recognize Member Castor Dental now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Armbruster, I just want to echo my colleagues and the superintendent's comments that it is a matter of leadership. You get a lot of credit for the direction that our district has taken with CTE. And I know I have visited a number of the campuses, and people enjoy working under you. And your passion for what you do it's obvious, and it's infectious. And I think you're the right person for the job. And I like how you're able to match the interests and passions of the students with opportunities, and you're creating those opportunities with partnerships, and a lot of your instructors have great ideas as well. I know that I was really impressed with the way that you are working with partners and also students' schedules and different ways to reach students. When I visited the Winter Park campus, and you're looking at the new IT pathway starting in middle schools, and I think it's so important to give kids more opportunities, and you're doing that. You're going to make a lot of difference in people's lives. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Member Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Armbruster already knows how much I like him. I tell him all the time. I'm a huge fan, and I think that just like what Dr. Castor-Dental said, I think that what I think you do really well is the way you listen to the community and to our business people out in the community, and you really change those programs and make those programs to fit the needs of our community. So you're doing a great job at that. And I love listening to him speak, because when he talks about the funding, it always blows me away, because I think of how his funding has not changed for so many years, yet he's done all this growth and made all this change, and it's just not stopped him. Nothing's stopping him. He's just goes for it. So I'm just thrilled. And, I see sometimes it's so difficult, because you see people on like social media say, why don't they bring back, shop or whatever to high schools? That was the best thing they used to do. And I just want to say we're doing it. We're doing such a good job at it. We're really doing a good job. I think that maybe what we can improve on is getting our message out there even more, and letting our kids, maybe even younger, understand that there are multiple pathways to a successful life and a successful career. And maybe that'll help people understand that of what we're doing and the tremendous things that we're doing for our kids. But I'm so grateful for you, and we all are. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for what you're doing for these kids' lives.
Great point, Member Byrd. I would say now we have shop on steroids. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a love fest up here tonight. We love it. So your team and under your leadership and what you guys manage to do with the limited resources just never fails to astound me and impress me. I brag about you all the time in Tallahassee. I tell everybody that nobody has a program like Orange County. And if you're looking to implement one, you definitely have to come to Orange County, and you have to look at what we've been able to do. So I'm extremely proud of everything that we've accomplished, you've accomplished, and your team's done. And I think the world of you and your team, like everybody that I've ever met, been in contact with, has just been stellar and just awesome. So thank you for that. I do have a question. I know that there was the whole CTE workforce that came out, and then there was a do not recommend list that came out. Did we have to cut any of our programs, or are we looking at cutting any of our programs to that do not recommend list?
No, ma'am. We actually, there are some modifications with certifications, but Again, we had already taken a proactive approach to that because we want our certifications to mean something beyond just getting a certification. And so we were really kind of a couple years ahead of the curve on that. So there were a couple local ones that did not make the list that we had kind of pushed for. One happened to be through the National Center for Simulation, and we're going to try to revisit that one. For us here in Orlando, that's a $5.6 billion industry, and that organization did everything right, and it didn't get through. So that one we're going to push for. But some of the ones we had talked about, Project Lead the Way did make it through. There is some rebundling of some things, and there is some removal of some things that we had already, as a district, removed ourselves, even though they were available. So overall, we came through it very well. Working with our Research Accountability and Grants Department, the impact on our schools will be minimal at most, and really should be non-existent. In other words, those schools who were impacted by the industry certs won't be hurt by what's happened at this point.
Of course, that's wonderful news. I didn't expect anything less. And just one other thing, I would like to welcome the Winter Park campus from District 6 into District 1 when you make that move. We're happy to have you, and welcome to District 1.
All right, it's about to get heated. Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to say hats off to the superintendent and to you, Dr. Ann Brewster, and your mighty directors. I have to say to the directors of Orange Technical Colleges, I've watched you grow over the years, and you were just talking about that up here earlier during the break with me. But the neatest thing is selecting the staff that actually came aboard. We have seen the good during the real good days when we got money from the state legislators. We used to get quite a bit of money, and I'm glad that Madam Gould pointed out to you, what you're going through, but we do thank the workforce for their funding, because I know you do get a lot, and I do know that Dr. Jenkins still tries to put in with the post-secondary and secondary funding, and so does this board. We try to make sure everybody gets a little bit of something. So I really want to say hats off to you. I have a couple of questions down here. If you could go back to I think it's slide 20, you made a statement in your presentation, and I just need to clear it up for the public, because I have received calls in reference similar to it, and if not, on slide 20. Can you back it up to that for me, please? Okay, leave it right there, and then I'm going to have you go to the next one. Okay, this is Mid-Florida Tech. So, Ms. Gallo, this is in District 5. So don't try to come and take it, okay? I'm leaving all of you on notice up here. Please don't come trying to take anything. Thank God, hopefully right now you cannot take the one that's stationed right here in this building. But I do want to mention to you, we thank you for the refurbishing, and I know it's a lot of work and a lot of painstaking of trying to rebuild and get it, even though you did not follow what I asked you all to do. But I'm willing to accept what we have. I pretty much thought that Mid-Florida Tech would be the center of attraction. I thought it would be a divide. And I think I spoke to Mr. Morris in reference to it during all of our planning meetings, and I spoke with Dr. Jenkins. I just felt that with Mid-Florida being on the corner there, it really should have been a center of attraction, and I'm not really getting it that way. It should be the when people come by and hit John Young and go down, but I'm willing to, leave what you have, because I'm hoping that maybe the next person that sits in this seat would fight that we would get that to be the center of attraction. It is in the center of this district. It is very centrally located, and I've received calls in reference to several of the programs being moved out of this particular center. However, you have repositioned and placed additional programs within that center. Some of them don't know if that's exactly what they wanted in the community at the time, but we left it up to you and the superintendent and the director to do due diligence for the families within this community. However, transportation for some of the programs that's leaving Mid-Florida, okay, is a big concern, because some of the programs that they are in now are now moving to Winter Garden. It is moving on the east side. It is moving definitely on the west side. And those programs could have been centrally located there. And I have to voice my opinion in reference to that, because it's easier for people to get into the city than to get out of the city if they're living in there. I do want us to keep in mind diversity, and not only that, but equity. I think it is very fair. I do not see, they were concerned about how they're going to get back and forth. But you made a statement and you said little interruption in the students that are already in these programs. I have not seen that through all of the discussions that we have had with maybe the superintendent and definitely with Mr. Morris. I don't see that. I see major interruptions, because I have not seen in writing how you plan to curtail that to get those students that are already in these programs that are moving to the west side and moving to Winter Garden area, which is the west side, and those other areas. How are you planning on making sure that these students finish in time? And then not only that, another concern that I have, and you don't have to answer all of these today, but I have to put it out there because this is a major concern. How do you plan to work with the staff? The staff are in agreement with this, but some of the staff, I don't know if how they would be affected with their family life and their style, and we don't want to do anything. I was just telling Dr. Jenkins this morning, we could talk every now and then at 6 o'clock in the morning on my way to Kissimmee. Well, that is not the case anymore. It took me 20 minutes to get to Kissimmee all those years. Now it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get to Kissimmee because of the traffic. And these are concerns of your constituents that are in your school. And I know it's happy-go-lucky, but it would have been beautiful if it was Dubai, if we had built buildings and just made it beautiful. They say you build it and they will come. And that has been proven in Orange County Public School. So that's another concern. And I wanted you to definitely explain today the statement you made. Go to the next slide that you brought up, I think is 21. Was it 21? Okay, so the Career Source Central, the 6 regional high growth industries, most of these are not in the middle. And that was a concern to some. What group are you catering to? What groups are you looking at? Who are you really trying to reach? I'm hoping that you're trying to reach everyone that wants to be a part. So if you could explain to me about the little interruption in the students, and I know you all have been talking about it, but I don't think any board member up here have been privy to how you plan to do it. I do want to commend you for the OTC alumni campaign. This has been a big thing of this board, to the superintendent to grow our own students. And you have done, an exceptional job on that with Mr. Noble Thomas and his son and all of the others that have followed through in there. But right now, the positioning of where you have placed all of these programs is a major concern within District 5, and the funding of reaching each community and how you selected these programs is a major concern, and definitely the transportation. And now, if the people in District 5 are concerned about getting into these programs that's on the east, the west, the north, and the south, how do you plan to get the word out to them and make ways to get them there. We did speak with some people at Lynx, but Lynx is having their own problems and concern. So I didn't know if you were going to have little mini buses with that emblem that you designed so graciously on the bus, picking them up from, and that's a great suggestion. I'd like to leave, Dr. Jenkins, to you and your staff, that these buses go through the community like a school bus and pick up our parents and students that are definitely interested. So I would like at least one of those questions answered tonight. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, have at it. Mr. Armbrust?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Gordon, for the questions. We spent about 3 years in researching and doing different things in polling and looking at data. 75% of our programs currently are only on one campus. So it's not that we have multiple programs on multiple campuses for access. We looked at the actual zip codes of the students who come. Students who want to take welding come from Lake County, Seminole County, Orange County, Orlando, East Orlando, West Orlando. Students who to the West Side campus. Students come from Osceola and other areas. When we started looking at the numbers and looking at it, one of the issues that came up was trying to find where their opportunities of work were located in reference to the school. So for medical, we looked at it from the two big deliverers are here in Orlando. We would have access for the students who were in the programs to be able to have access to those jobs. So it was built around trying to work to get the most programs, or to get the programs to be together. What happens when you have two welding programs at two different sites? The first thing people say is, well, it increases access. But the difficulty is if you have one teacher at one site, one teacher at another site, and the teacher at one site is gone, there's nobody there, and it takes us sometimes 2 years to hire a welding teacher. That's another issue we deal with. The other thing is the professional learning community model that you hear about in K-12 also works exceptionally well in the post-secondary. Being able to group teachers with expertise together allows for transition. Should we lose a teacher, we're able to make that happen. It also allows them to work together on lesson plans, on training, all those kinds of things. The cost of building a lab instead of building 2 full-size labs gets reduced to where you can build 1.5 labs and still serve twice as many students. So there were a lot of factors put into it, not one given any more weight than any other. But at the end of the day, we saw the benefits of this model going to the institute model. We actually presented 4 models to our workforce advisory committee. We also presented 4 models to our teachers and staff. One model was to make Mid-Florida the one campus, like the old UCF, make it one campus, close all the other sites. It would be centrally located. As you said, you could get to it and do away with the others. The other model was to put the same programs on all 4 campuses so that students would have access to the same programs on each campus. The other model was simply to rebuild what we currently have, which was a hodgepodge of 83 years of just putting things where we could fit them when it happened. And the fourth model was the institute model, where we would build schools of interest and then try to build those schools of interest within the areas where they were most likely to be able to get employment close by the school. And so that's what we did, and that was the direction we took. As far as the students being able to finish, we've tried to gear this thing, and I think we've been fairly successful. For example, this year we're going to be closing programs at the Orlando campus. Students only take a year to finish our programs. We're kind of fortunate in that. So the students who are in the programs at the Orlando campus now will finish before the end of this school year. We won't start a new set of those classes because we've got to empty 2/3 of the building to get it ready for the rebuild that's going to be starting there. And so because of the length of our programs, it's not as difficult as it would be in a 4-year university or in a 2-year state college to be able to gear out on the time frame that these programs are going to shut down at this time and we're going to move these programs here at that time. And so it's not going to be a perfect world because it's change and it's significant change, but a lot of good people, and you mentioned earlier the directors and the staff, they really are the ones who make this happen. They've been engaged. We've involved our industry partners. There's probably few schools in our district that have as many industry partners as we have, and we've brought them in to try to see what do you feel are the best ways. And again, it was really about a 3-year process of going through this. This didn't happen overnight. It wasn't woken up one morning and said we're going to do this. So we tried to answer a lot of those questions, Dr. Gordon, and are there going to be some who miss out? Absolutely. But honestly, they are missing out in other locations as well currently. So wherever we put a site, there are going to be those who can come and those who can't. And so we just felt that when we looked at all the pluses and minuses, that the Institute model, and to give you an idea from the staff side, the Institute model on its own got more votes than the other 3 models combined together. It was very positively received and chosen. So I don't know if I answered all 3 questions, but I do want you to know that the shuttle bus is actually an idea that I think you mentioned before to me that we've actually put on the table so that we could actually have a hub situation where students could come to the Orlando campus who currently can come there. We would shuttle them on a bus the way we do dual enrollment students and take them to the campus of their choice and bring them back. So that actually is in the bank of solutions to some of the problems we're going to face. So I believe you had shared that with me in a passing not long ago. And so I wanted you to know that was made note of. And I don't know if we'll be able to get the button on it, but I'm going to try to. But that is one of the possibilities. The same thing with high school students. When we moved to the Institute model, high school students who are at East River, they can't really go to West Side for 3 hours. But what we can do is move them to West Side for the whole day, allow them to take online courses and be in the technical trades for 4 hours, and send them back. So there's some other options that'll be different from the way we do business today, but that we think will meet most of those. We're not going to solve everybody's problem, but we're very much in tune with trying to make sure we're efficient in what we're doing.
Very well done, Dr. Brewster. But we don't want to cause any of our present students any problems, Dr. Jenkins. If they saw fit to enroll in Orlando Tech, or Mid-Florida Tech, or any of our colleges, then we, as board members, should be committed to seeing that everybody within our district, we contact them and find out what we can do to help them to complete it. Yes, you are right, some will be missing out, but we hope that no one misses out on the opportunity that they started, because we've all watched those students go across the stage, we've watched them graduate, and we've watched them become the gentleman that you highlighted tonight, which is so nice with Mr. Thomas. We don't want anybody, Dr. Jenkins, it doesn't take us that much to see what we can do as board members to see who were in those programs that we're getting ready to move into different districts, why we cannot see that those students will complete it, because nobody's talking to them. And then also, Dr. Jenkins, this is where I would like to see you and the union work together, where those teachers, remember one time we asked and we said, usually a person will do well if they're working where they want to work. Do you understand? They're going to give you the best. But if you take a person and you just send them somewhere and they don't want to be there, they're not going to produce well. And they're going to hinder the students and the adults that are under their tutelage. So what we need to do is to make sure that our faculty and staff are happy in the positions of all these changes. Because, see, when you say the Institute decided this is what they're going to do, then that has nothing to do with those of us that are teaching every day. Okay, and no, everybody didn't get input. Let me share now, because I'm in the community. All right, I can't speak for the other board member. I can only speak for me with the 2 technical colleges that are housed within my community, and which are very strong technical colleges. It's up to us as board members to see to it that these students that started with us finish with us. We want 100%, because there's not that many. We don't want anybody dropping out and saying, man, you know, they closed that darn program. I put my money in there. I put my time. Let's make sure that they finish some kind of way. And that if they don't, at least offer them a change. Mr. Thomas, look how many programs he switched into. He was in food service, and he went into something else, and something else. Let's guide and direct those that are interested in our technical colleges. Let's make sure that they complete and graduate. All right, that's a great thing seeing them, and most of them graduate as national honors students. And I think that is a plus for you, Dr. Brewster, for your awesome directors, and for Dr. Jenkins as a leadership and her great staff for working with you to see that we move forward. And you know I'm crazy about the green button. I love that green button, and you know you could tell your wife we're going to make sure that green button goes somewhere. All right. So
Yes,
thank you so very much, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, and Dr. Brewster for a fine report.
Thank you. Member Coburn.
So, Dr. Armbruster, you know you can never retire and you can never leave. That's what you get for doing such a good job. Couple questions, couple comments. To Member Bird's point, we are doing it. We are doing such a good job. I think the key to a lot of that really is re-educating the parents on what there is to be offered. I'm sure you have a presence at the College Expo, correct? When we do that, do you also have
actually
a
the
presence?
largest presence, if I may be
Okay,
so
good.
bold to
Well,
say.
Of course.
Yeah.
And do you have a presence at the high schools or even middle schools when they do open houses and meet your teacher?
Mhm.
Because that's a great way to meet those parents. And to Member Gordon's point, you can put them on a little bus and take them out there for field trips. And of course, a presence at the parent academies as well. So I think reaching those parents is key, and you're probably doing all of that already because you're doing such a good job. I want you to know that next month I'm giving a presentation to the Central Florida Retired Educators Association, and they wanted the topic to be about the vision for the future for OCPS, and I'm going to lift half of your slides out of your presentation to show them that this is indeed a large part of the direction that we're going, and that you and your team are leaders in the state of Florida and making this happen. And then finally, it also dawns on me that we really need to, as leaders here, leverage the business community to help us, given the funding structure. So I know that you are always out there in business community and Tallahassee with other government leaders, figuring out ways to make this happen. But given the challenges in hiring the instructors, things like that, is there a pipeline per se? If a company, let's say an airline, wanted to grow their airplane mechanics, is there a pipeline where they could come in, furnish the educators, help fund a program, and we could get something off the ground? That's just one industry example, but is there a process for that?
There is, and in fact, Dr. Jenkins had shared an idea with our local hospital systems to where they would pay for nurses and we would work through a thing. We are being very creative and trying to figure out how to make this work. And so, yes, there is a way for us to do that, and we do that with some companies through what we call continuing education, but there is a way to have them support us. We met with the Orlando Airport Authority just probably 2 months ago now, because we're trying to start a airframe and avionics program, and that takes probably in the neighborhood, to make it fully funded, about $30 million, but to get it started about $3 million. And we're going to need industry to step up and say, look, we'll provide you the airplanes, we'll provide you the small airplanes. We're not talking about 747s, but yes, and there are ways to do that. There are ways. We've worked with HR. Dr. Williams has been phenomenal on being creative with us on how we can have situations where we pay them our salary and the industry supplements them through our apprenticeship program, the FEET program that you saw. We pay a certain amount, and then the industry supplements the difference so that they're making what they would make in the field. So yes, we are looking at all ways and all methods to try to fund it. But yes, there are options available, and we've got the right people in the right places here in Orange County to actually make those things happen. So it's just getting there step by step.
That's why you can never leave. Thank you.
Okay. Last speaker, Member Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the same questions of school board member Linda Cover about the presence of the CT during different events at high schools. So I think that we have how many events?
We do literally dozens of events, but to answer, for example, Parent Academy, we participate in every Parent Academy live one. We also have one a year that is CT, where I speak at a CT. I spoke, I can't remember what school I was at. I've been talking too much, but we just had one in January where we were the featured topic in CTE. So we had a slew of people out there to talk people through this whole thing, and I did the steak and lobster conversation and all of that. So we do that. In fact, tonight, right now at Mid-Florida, we're hosting an event for seniors who haven't declared what they want to do when they graduate, and so we'll have several hundred seniors and their parents. We've worked through the high schools to make that happen, who are actually attending Mid-Florida to look at what the options are at Orange Technical College campus. You'll see us pretty much at every event, and there's very few we don't make. We have career specialists in every high school. They attend the high school open houses. They work with the middle schools that feed into those high schools. Generally, it just takes an invitation and we'll get somebody there. We have a team that we call, it's not very original, ambassadors. And they do it because they love promoting what we do, and they'll go out to wherever and whenever. We speak at Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, all of those things. So yes, we are very much, I think that it would be fair to say that CTE today is viewed differently than it was 5 years ago because of the work of so many staff members who believe in what we do and are willing to give their own time to be out there to do it.
I also want to brag about you.
Nah.
So you might not remember me, but I saw you when I used to be a teacher at Colonial High School in one of your presentations, and I know that you have a very inspirational story, that very similar to the one that we saw today. And now you are Dr. Ann Brewster. But you know the struggle of our students because you struggle, and that means a lot because you know how to engage the students in every side. I saw you surrounded by students when I visited, because I visited one at Oak Ridge, the one at Avalon, the one here, and I saw you surrounded by students, and they don't feel any type of fear to approach you. You're one of them as well. So that means a lot to our students as well. So I also want to emphasize that I saw different aspects of you in different sides. So I saw a video of you advocating for funding at Tallahassee as well. So you're a leader with vision. You're not gonna just stay in the office. I saw you in Avalon doing the barbecue and the hamburger. I ate one hamburger from Dr. Ann Brewster as well. So he's in the community as well. So you're a great leader and you have a great team. So I highly appreciate your commitment with our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute.
And he's quite an auctioneer, I found out just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
At the West Orange Chamber, he did the live auction, and he was quite entertaining.
Really?
Yes.
Not as entertaining as you and your husband, but entertaining. Well, awesome. All right. Okay, message.
Just thank you all very
You're
much.
phenomenal.
And please understand that it is a team approach, and our directors and all of our team members and teachers and staff do a phenomenal job. So thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, and our students. At the end of the day, they're a crucial part of the team, and you do a phenomenal job with leading that team. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move on to our consent agenda. Dr. Jenkins, before the board considers the consent agenda, any changes? All right,
No
seeing
changes,
no
Madam Chair.
changes in the consent agenda. And we have no members of the public that wish to speak to the consent agenda. That's my understanding. Just want to double check. I think all the speaker cards I have, I believe, are related to a non-agenda item dealing with the renaming of Stonewall Jackson Middle School, correct?
Non-consent.
All right, I don't see anybody in objection to that, so we'll hold your comments until the board is poised for that discussion. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Motion by Member Tobert, second by Member Gordon. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion accepted, and the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on now to the non-consent agenda. And Dr. Jenkins, I was going to call on you, but shall I hear from the public first?
I think he needs to present it first.
Okay, we'll take that presentation. Before board engages in dialogue and discussion, and there are any motions on the table, we do have a number of speaker cards, so we'll hear from the public after the presentation. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Madam Chair, also board members, Dr. Jenkins. The School Advisory Council, or Stonewall Jackson Middle School, began dealing with the name of their school during the 2017-18 school year. The school community stakeholders engaged in the process. Per policy FF, stakeholders may include staff, students, parents, legal guardians, and partners. For the final survey in April 2019, the SSC received nearly 824 responses through electronic and paper-based responses. The greatest response at the time of the survey indicated the name Jackson as the most popular. Since Jackson is not a renaming, the school board may consider 3 options based on the current language of Policy FF, naming or renaming schools, buildings, and facilities. Option 1, rename the school Englewood Middle School. This name reflects the community in which the school is located. The local community center and elementary school also bear this name. Englewood was the second most popular name in the survey conducted by the SAC in April 2019. This option will bring immediate closure to the matter based on previous school community input. Option 2, send the issue back to Stonewall Jackson Middle School's SAC to repeat the entire process. Directions will include the elimination of option Jackson Middle School as a renaming and encourage the SAC to educate the school community regarding the purpose of the renaming. The District Research Accountability and Grants Office will assist with the survey process to ensure fidelity. This option should result in a new name to be considered by the school board for adoption prior to the end of the school year. Option 3, determine a new name for the school based on school board authority. Policy FF Section 6 provides the final selection and approval of names for schools, buildings, and facilities shall be the sole responsibility of the board. This option will exclude any further school community input and bring immediate closure to the matter. Staff will proceed expeditiously upon direction from the school board. Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Members of the board, those are the 3 options before you based on current policy. Certainly, there have been discussions prior to this point. We are at your pleasure. Option 1 and 3 bring immediate closure. Option 3 would be the first time that we can recall that the board has taken it away from the local community. All of that is under consideration per your current policy. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Member Lopez in just a moment. The one thing I did want to mention, and Dr. Castor-Dental brought to my attention, and thank you, I apologize, we have principals in the audience. Is that correct? Do we? Well, will you stand just so we can thank you all for being here? Wow. Wait, y'all are, whoa. Okay, wow. Oh, I know, but I think the group grew. It's different people some of you came before. Wow, thank you all so much for being here.
Want them to see how we are.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for being here. I usually get y'all to shout out their names, but I know we have a lot of people waiting. Can I? Okay, can you give your names and what school you're with? Okay. Thank you. All right, the group grew this week. Who else do we miss? Who? All right, we miss anybody? Okay, perfect. Okay, so is it all right? Do you want to hear from the public, or should I call you ready? Okay, let's hear from the public, and then, of course, this is in Member Lopez's district, so we're going to hear from her first, right after the public. So I'm going to call out these speaker cards. I'm going to do my best. There's one I'm struggling with, so forgive me if I get your name wrong. Let's begin with Jose Rodriguez.
Madam Chair, as he's approaching, I neglected to mention both the principal and the area superintendent were not in place at Stonewall Jackson Middle School previously.
Okay.
I want to make sure I
thank you
give
for
them
that.
that.
I thank you for that. They especially thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody taking note of that, they were not here when this recommendation came forward, okay? Welcome back.
I was reviewing your Code of Civility, It says, treat each other with courtesy and respect at all times, treat each other with kindness, take responsibility for our own actions, cooperate with each other. This seems to be an ethos, and Stonewall Jackson did not meet that ethos. If he were here in this meeting today, he would have immediately been ejected, because there's also a line in here to remove people who don't do this. That name should not be on a school building because it does not meet your own expectations of conduct and civility in a school district. I come from Puerto Rico. I grew up here in Orlando. I'm an alumni of Stonewall Jackson Middle School. I am a priest at a church in that district. Many of my children go to that school. I feed many of the children in that school through our food pantry. We have tremendous social programs that even provide housing to children in that school. It pains me that that school still has that name. That name should not stand. It pains me to see that name still standing, and I hope today the name is put to rest. Either option 1 or 3, but I would really love option 3, because while I didn't initially come here with a name I thought Rosa Parks, I started hearing the community, and the community had a name, and I'll let someone else speak to that name, but the community gathered at my church from all parts of the county, and we also heard the voices of people within the county, and they gave a name, and the name felt right. And I'll let someone else speak to that. But I did want to say there comes a time and place for president. There comes a time and place for policy. And there comes a time and place to do something new. Jesus said, I make all things new. And just because this board has never taken the initiative to name a name doesn't mean that it cannot. This is a time, and a time like this, to take into account that that name should never have been on that school. So y'all should remove the name and should replace it with a name that will bring healing. A place name is kicking the can down the road and taking the easy way out. Pick a leader that will inspire our children. Pick a leader that will erase the stain of having that name on that school. Retire that name and replace it with a hero that our children can look up to. Englewood already has a school named after it. Take this opportunity to name the school after a hero. It's not a bad thing to do something for the very first time, because this is an exceptional situation. This isn't a normal situation. This is the last school we have left named after a Confederate general. And renaming this school should take into account exceptional action. And I ask you to take the exceptional action of retiring a name that is painful to the community and renaming it for a name that will inspire the community. Please, please do number 3, end this immediately, and name this school after someone the children at that school can look up to for inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I need I know we have it, but we need your address verbally into the record. And then I need to remind everybody about our rules. Go ahead.
Jose Rodriguez, 26 Willow Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32807. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me ask, when you're in, no, you're finished. You're good. When you're in these chambers, except for during our celebratory beginning, we ask that you refrain from clapping or booing or hissing or cheering or anything like that. So no audible signs, but it is valuable. Yes, thank you. It's valuable for us to know how you feel, and we want to know how you feel. So if you're in support of something, you can wave. Well, you can wave one hand. If you're thoroughly in support of something, wave 2 hands. If you really don't like something, it's okay to give us a thumbs down. That's the only gesture we would like to see if you're against something. And I've said before, this makes me dyslexic. It probably means something, but I'm too old to know. Okay? So stay away from that. I can't figure out if it's a thumbs up, a finger down, I don't know. You good? We good? We got the rules? Okay, great. Our next speaker is Colonel Freitas. Wonderful to have you with us, sir.
How do you lower this a bit?
Okay, no, we can lower it. No, I can do that.
The other one was a giant.
I think I can do it. The volume. Okay, now.
9453 Westover Club Circle, Orange County.
There, better.
Hi. I'm Colonel Dennis Freitas, U.S. Army retired, Florida Veterans Hall of Fame by Florida Governor, House, and Senate. First from Central Florida. community servant leader that has served our beloved Florida and Orange County for about 27 years. And we go back a long way.
Just about that far.
It includes Orange County Public Schools Superintendent Search Committee appointed by Chairman Bill Sublette, and we got an awesome awesome superintendent we recommended. And also I've served on the Orange County Public School Redistricting Committee. Plus I've done a lot of other things. Mayor Demings has appointed me to the Orange County Citizens Corps. I've been appointed by Mayor since Linda Chapin, so I won't go through that. I'm a former trustee of Valencia College. I've been confirmed by the Florida Senate twice. I've served on Governor Jeb Bush policy transition team, amongst many things. And when I was in Valencia, I sat next alongside Ron Blocker, who was also a member of the trustee board. I and many recommend that Stonewall Jackson School name be retired. I also was a professor of military science and commandant at the University of Puerto Rico. I had 1,000 university students, oversight for 500 junior ROTC. And I know that school board member Gordon likes the junior ROTC, which is B in every school. I and many recommend that Stonewall Jackson Middle School name be retired. The new name should not be tied to slavery, but reflect values, like well said, that set a good example of service. Current demographics, which are Hispanic, which are Puerto Ricans. There's not one Central Florida school name after a Hispanic. So you got to take that into consideration. That district is Hispanic, Puerto Rican. And the growing Puerto Rican Hispanic in nature. There are many worthy names. There's and a lot of them were well said here. I would say consider the Borinqueniers, the U.S. 65th Infantry Regiment's Warriors of Good. Today, many reside in Orange County, received the Congressional Gold Medal, highest honor a U.S. Congress with U.S. President can bestow for their brave service in World War I, II, and Korea. They suffer federal institutional racism and discrimination as still today U.S. citizens, American veterans suffer in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. Then you have Medal of Honor winners. You have Ponce de Leon, the first governor of Puerto Rico, who along with crew that included Puerto Rican natives, the Taínos, came from Puerto Rico Borinquen to find and name Florida. Their Hispanic ancestors first came to the now U.S. 107 years before the Pilgrims. And you have many other good names. In closing, the Confederacy belongs in a museum. History will never be erased, but the crimes committed by racists will never be forgotten. Should not serve as an example for others. The time is now to retire the name. Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be before this great board.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel. All right, next we'll hear from Joshua Cora Santiago.
Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Cora Santiago, 4579 Cove Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32812. And I am here with the Respeta Mi Gente coalition, and one of our members in the coalition, Alianza for Progress, did a thorough investigation and survey in the community, and I want to read their statement. Alianza for Progress is a civic engagement social justice organization that works with the Puerto Rican and Latino community in Central Florida. We work on a number of social justice issues. We work on promoting policy, state, local, and federal that benefit our people in Florida and in Puerto Rico. As you know, we were asked by the member of the Azalea Park community and other leaders who have been involved in the struggle of the renaming of Stonewall Jackson to become involved in this matter. We were initially skeptical, but when the leaders of the community came together and said they would agree to support a Latino name that was clearly supported by the majority of the residents, we agreed to help. We first met with the Student Advisory Committee and frankly determined that the process of the survey of the community was flawed at best, manipulated at worst. We also visited we have also visited this body for the past 3 months and have learned that even this body doesn't have the confidence in the process the SAC concluded with the research, which was to keep the Jackson name. For the past month, we have been talking to neighbors in the community, surveying them for 8 options that were presented by the leaders of the community. We knocked on over more than 3,000 doors and spoke to over 800 people. Of those, 447 answered the survey. I have given the survey, and it's as follows. Roberto Clemente had 55% of the vote, with 244 of the people who took the survey. Sonia Sotomayor with 21%, and that was 94 people who answered. Celia Cruz with 8%, and 31 people answered for that one. Tony Ortiz, one of our commissioners, 5%, with votes of 25 people. We also gave them the opportunity to choose another, whichever name, and that was 5% with 25 people. We also added the Borinqueneers to our survey, and Simon Bolivar. So we hope that, as Father Jose said, this should be a good representation of what the community wants, and hopefully you guys make a good decision on this matter.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Good?
So,
Thank you.
yeah, we're good, Mr. Santiago. I want to point out that both of our speakers went just a few seconds over, and that's fine as long as when you hear the sound and the time runs out, that means kind of wrap up your last sentence, your last thought. So I think both of our speakers acknowledge that, and we appreciate that. And I hate being in a position where I have to stop you, so please stop yourself pretty quickly after that. Thank you. Let's hear next from is it Nina or Nina Yoakum? Oh no, Nina? Nina. Oh, Nina, you can't give up on me yet. You are coming back until I get it right, right? You're going to come back here until I get it right, right?
Get it right one day.
Right. You can, yeah, don't give up on me.
It's going to happen.
Nina, welcome.
Nina Yoakum, 14270 Anastasia Lane. And is that all you need from me for that part?
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
Okay. And I'm just here to back up what they just said. And I want to say that when I moved into Orlando 26 years ago, that is exactly where I moved. That was where my son was going to go to grade school, middle school, and high school was going to be Colonial. And, you know, we didn't give it much thought at that period in time about that name, but things have changed so much since then. And now I just can't even think that my son might have gone to a school called Stonewall Jackson, because that is just such a horrible thing. And I'm so glad we're at a point where we don't send our kids to schools with such disgraceful names, and that we can send them to a place called Roberto Clemente School, which I think is a great name. It got the most votes. So I'm just going to go with that one and say that guy was a great baseball player, but for those of you who don't know a lot about him, and he's from Puerto Rico, more than that, he was philanthropic beyond compare. And he died in a plane crash on New Year's Eve delivering goods and to Guatemala, I believe. And he crashed in the plane crash and he didn't survive. But he was doing something that people told him, no, don't go, don't do this. You know, your flight might not make it. But his heart told him, no, I have to help people. I have to help people. And that drive of his was stronger than his drive was to be an outstanding baseball player and be famous as a baseball player. And also along those lines, he was upset about one thing, and it's quoted, and I'm going to get the quote off a little bit, so forgive me my trespasses. But he said something like, it's not fair because he was an outstanding baseball player, that Latin baseball players don't get awards, or we don't get the first place awards for things because we're from a Latin community. Those things don't happen in the United States. But now's the time, and he can get this award. He won't know it, but I think his son might still be alive, and some of his other relatives. So that would be a wonderful thing for his family that could be looked into. And so that's my vote, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Nina, thank you.
For listening.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Stephanie Giovanni, but I can't get the last name. Giovanni? Oh, okay. Anybody help me with this last name? Bravo. Okay, couldn't make it out here. Thank you. Joshua Becker? Joshua, welcome.
My name is Joshua Becker, 2016 Garwood Drive. I think that's what I need to say.
Yes.
I don't have a speech ready. I'm just going to speak from what I was thinking about this whole process. I hate that I went to Stonewall Jackson Middle School that was the name of a Confederate general. I really don't think that we should have that name, and I think it's kind of disgraceful that after all of this time, it's still that name. So I suggest that we change it to Roberto Clemente High School, as that won the most votes in that one survey. And I don't think there's any there's no connotation from that, right? Like it's kind of neutral, and it kind of reflects what the community wants, and just not essentially by continuing having Stonewall Jackson's name, we're kind of glorifying somebody who fought for slavery, and that just kind of disgusts me. And yeah, I didn't expect to speak the whole time, but that's just my 2 cents. So thank you.
No, Joshua, thank you for being here and sharing your perspective. Absolutely. All right, next we'll hear from Marcos Villar. Welcome, Mr. Villar.
Marcos Villar, 11602 Lake Underhill Road. Excuse me. Quiero primero que nada darle un saludo a mi familia en Carolina. This is how Roberto Clemente started his interviews when he was interviewed in English. And with all due respect, I wanted to honor that image that I saw as a child when I watched the World Series and saw him address us in Carolina in Spanish. Roberto Clemente was born on August 18, 1934 in Carolina, Puerto Rico, which is known as the City of Giants. But no giant looms higher in Puerto Rico, in the lore of Puerto Rico, than the figure of Roberto Clemente. As a black Puerto Rican young man of 13 years old, he witnessed the integration of Major League Baseball, with Jackie Robinson's entry into the major leagues with the Brooklyn Dodgers, or LA Dodgers. His dream to follow Robinson's steps in 1955, when he became true in 1955, when he debuted himself in the major leagues. And after he was in the leagues, he also enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. People may not know that he was a veteran. He took time from baseball to serve the country. Roberto Clemente received countless of awards for his accomplishments in the major leagues. Multiple Golden Gloves, batting records. He was the first Latino to win a World Series as a starter, and he was also the MVP in several World Series. At the end of the 1972 season, in fact, in his last game of that season, he batted the 3,000th hit of his lifetime. That was his last game in 1972. That Christmas, after the season was over, Nicaragua was hit by a devastating earthquake. He had traveled all of Latin America and all of the United States. He traveled all over the world, training children around baseball. And And when the earthquake hit, he decided to take a plane and deliver goods to the Nicaraguan people because they weren't getting the aid themselves. Let's make sure that we take this opportunity to educate the community about the choices. Let's make sure that this opportunity we have to elevate the pride of our community. Roberto Clemente is a Puerto Rican hero. Roberto Clemente is a Latino hero. Roberto Clemente is an American hero. Tonight, we can honor his person, his legacy, and honor the community that that school is in by naming the school after Roberto Clemente Walker. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we'll hear from Aman Thomas.
My name is Aman Thomas. I live on 1247 Fountain Coin Loop in East Orlando. Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent. So this is my second time coming before the board talking about this. So I'm very catch my words. I'm very happy to see the community come out in such force around this. I was with this process at the beginning. I was actually at that meeting, that board meeting when we started. The SAC meeting where I brought this up is to be changed. This was in 2017. At the time, I had just finished. My oldest son and my daughter have both matriculated through Jackson Middle. We decided to go to Jackson Middle. We came from Hillcrest because it was an outstanding program for IB. Some of the former principals are sitting right here. Principal Smith was there as well, so I can attest of how great a school that was. My son is currently at University High School in the IB program. Excuse me, straight A student, as well as my daughter. So I understand how important it is for the IB program. My son actually just got accepted today for the IB program. However, even when I was there, because I'm a student of history, as an African American who lives here in Orange County, it pained me every day to drive down 408 to get off, to get over to Jackson Middle, to go to Stonewall Jackson Middle. It was like a slap in my face, right? If you take a look at the history, because today I kind of pulled up an article, it was called All Deliberate Delay, Desegregating the Public Schools of Orange County by Brittany Bernstein, this is an undergrad for University of Central Florida. It is unreal, the verbal gymnastics that happened after the Board of Ed versus Brown versus Board of Education, and all of the court cases that have to happen in this Orange County that took between 1954 and before schools finally got desegregated. They named two schools. They named Robert E. Lee, which is now College Park Middle, that had already gone through this process in 1954, I believe, and in 1965, while African Americans were still fighting just to go to a school that was good, like the other kids, they named the school on purpose Stonewall Jackson Middle. You know what the second name that they didn't pick? It was Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy. So they did this on purpose, right? So I think today, with some of the great things that I heard about Roberto Clemente, I'm a huge baseball fan, even though the strikes kind of bothered me in the 80s, so I know all about Roberto Clemente. If that is the name that the community wants to hear, I think you should do it. I think you should take a bold step today and share the nation that we are going to name this school today, Roberto Clemente Middle. And when you do that, I will be very, very happy because now I can send my son to that school. Thank you.
Oh, wait, don't step away quite yet.
Yes.
First, I just have one quick question. First of all,
sure.
Congratulations with your kids, and thank you for being back here with us again. But my question for you, so you were at the first SAC committee raising this issue.
Correct.
Just because the board, in addition to this decision, the board is also looking at changing the policy around how we names come forward to the board. How did you know about that first SAC committee meeting?
So I reached out to the principal at the time. And I think Amir had graduated, and I think he just moved to Maya to Timber Lakes because of some transportation pieces. And then I said, well, I just got on my SAC committee. So fortunately for us, my wife and I are very active in every school we go to. We make sure we're on the SAC committee. Okay. We're always out there. We talk with them. So we're very involved parents. We find that that's a good thing to do, right? So I got on. I found out, well, how do you make the change? I researched a little bit. They said, come to the SAC meeting, and I did. Okay. And then I got up, gave them a little speech about what it was, and then they kind of started the process. I will tell you, however, that the process seemed long. It was right at the tail end of when College Park changed its name from Robert E. So I was kind of taking a look at that process. It looked like it took about 2 years for when you kind of go through and follow all the different steps that you need to make. I would suggest that goes a little quicker next time. But that's how I found out
So
about it.
we will be having that discussion and public hearings on that. And so there'll be an opportunity for the public to provide input. I just wanted to take advantage of this opportunity in case I didn't see you again. Because I've often wondered if you're not on the SAC, and I was always on my children's SACs, but there weren't many people who were.
Yeah,
How
we
did somebody find
yes,
out?
It's not
So-
as popular
Yeah.
as the PTA sometimes.
Yeah, no, not so much, yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from Samuel Santiago. Good to have you with us, Mr. Santiago.
Samuel Vilches Santiago, 8933 Fort Jefferson Boulevard, Orlando, Florida, 32822. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Stonewall Jackson Middle School, as I shared at the last meeting, holds an important place in my heart. That school welcomed me and my family at one of our lowest points, right after we had escaped political prosecution from Venezuela in 2010. I remember walking into the school for the first time. As soon as an administrator approached me, I started crying. And the reason was because I couldn't understand them. She side-hugged me and sent me to my first period class. Over the next year, as an 8th grader student, I learned to love that school. There, in my struggle to learn English, I also quickly realized why my parents had sacrificed their professional careers to move to the United States. Overall, Stonewall Jackson Middle prepared me to affront an academically rigorous curriculum at Colonial High School, which then eventually propelled me to a high-quality college education at Princeton University. This personal connection is exactly what drives my unapologetic opinion on this topic. As a Stonewall Jackson Middle School alum, I strongly favor changing the school's name, not because I want to erase history, but because the school and its predominantly Latino community deserve better. Now, I can go on and on about the many reasons why our society shouldn't glorify Confederate leaders like Stonewall Jackson, who did not only put our union at risk over upholding the institution of slavery, but also lost the Civil War. However, that's not my point. Instead, my point is that Stonewall Jackson has never been a good representative of that community. In a way, it's not that I'm in favor of changing the school's name, which, as I said before, I am. But the naming the school after him in the first place was not a good decision. So by changing the school's name, we will be fixing an originally misguided choice. In other words, you all have the power to right a wrong. In fact, I bet if you ask any of the parents there, particularly the Latino parents or the students, they're not going to know who Stonewall Jackson was. As I shared in the last meeting, I didn't know who he was. And that's the main problem with the survey that was taken before. So with that in mind, if done correctly, renaming and rebranding this Title I school could have a positive impact on its student body. While Latinos represent a plurality of OCPS students, no OCPS school is named after a Latino figure. Utilizing this opportunity to fill the gap will create an important conversation about the historic role that Latinos have played both in Central Florida and in the United States. By renaming Stonewall Jackson Middle School to Roberto Clemente, you will be sending a strong message to our students, our community, that they matter. That immigrant kids who don't know how to speak English matter. That our predominantly Latino bus drivers and janitors matter. And that our community matters more than the racist legacy of Stonewall Jackson. And I am sure that's the message you want to send. Thank you.
Mr. Santiago. All right, our last speaker at this time is Jim Callahan, but as he's coming forward, I just want to, coming forward, Jim. I just want to let everybody know that's the last card I have. So if there's anybody in the audience who came here and wanted to speak and is sitting there, I don't want you to leave not having a chance to speak, okay? So, Mr. Callahan, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I am. And
Welcome.
I believe the last time I was in a different venue, but
It was.
congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for being here.
Could you give us your
I
name and
sort of
address
two
for
parts.
the
yeah, I'm
record?
sorry,
my
Mr.
address,
Callahan.
I'm sorry, 204 East South Street, Unit 3052. And I really have two parts. First part, in terms of righting the wrongs of the Civil War legacy. I was involved in a group, Democracy Forum, that researched the history of Ocoee and brought forth the information on the events that happened there. We relied on a paper by Lester Dabbs talking about the Ocoee riot. We later termed it the Ocoee Massacre, and in fact I called it an ethnic cleansing. And some of the accomplishments of that is that there's now a grave marker for July Perry in Greenwood Cemetery. And there's a historical marker outside the Orange County History Museum. And this year will be the 100th anniversary of that. Recently, the city of Orlando moved a statue that was at Lake Eola Park honoring Confederate soldiers and moved it to Greenwood Cemetery. I'd sent an email to Mayor Dyer asking that he tear down that statue, but sufficient to at least move it out of the park. And so the naming of the school was of a similar ilk as putting that statue in Lake Eola. It was a deliberate message. And I think we should right that wrong. I came to knowledge of the Hispanic community late in life. I was campaign manager for Jimmy Afont in 2000. And so I had a crash course on Boricua and Tatino and the community at large, and later went on in some redistricting issues and learned more about the community and helped with signing people up for Obamacare and knocked on a lot of doors and learned even more about the community. I didn't research this one item I wanted to bring up, but my recollection is there was a mural honoring Roberto Clemente in the community. And at one point it was vandalized, and the community rallied and repainted that mural. And so I think that shows that there's some commitment in the community to honoring the memory of Roberto Clemente. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. All right, that concludes our public comments. And I don't think we've received any additional cards, so I am now going to go to Member Lopez. For the reason, I know everyone knows, but just for the reason, lest there be any question, is this is in her district. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you for putting that into the record. So that comment, for if it didn't pick up, Roberto Clemente's full name is Roberto Clemente Walker. Thank you. So now we will turn to the district representative for this school, and that is Member Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several feedback before I read this. The survey that we were talking about Roberto Clemente. I would like to know more about that survey. It is scientific. It is based on the parents, students, community. That is something that we need to know before we make any decision as well. So we have to think about that. I have contemplated for several weeks now the dilemma of renaming Stonewall Jackson Middle School. I have come to the conclusion of the following. Renaming the school is the appropriate action, given the makeup of the school, the history behind the original name, and the initial SAC request. The school community may not have been adequately informed about the reason for renaming the school and the history behind the original name. Submission of the name Jackson Middle School as one of the three possible names is not a renaming and should not be considered. Per policy, I believe the local community must be the impetus behind presenting alternative names to the school board for consideration. I value that local input greatly and do not believe the school board should unilaterally make a determination without any suggestions from the school community. Because of these conclusions, I am asking for my fellow board members' support to direct the superintendent to, number 1, send the naming process back to the Jackson Middle School SAC to restart the process. Number 2, ensure that the school community is informed about the reason for the renaming effort prior to surveying the school community. Number 3, make certain the SAC understands the renaming recommendations should not include the current name. In fact, I hope they will consider some historical Hispanic names because of the school population. In fact, I hope they will consider perhaps students can research and write essays regarding potential names. Even the leaders that are here today, go to the SAC and speak to them about the Hispanic names that today you were speaking. Bring 3 potential recommendations for renaming the school to the board at the completion of the process. So I move that we send this matter back to Stonewall Jackson Middle School, SAC, with set directions.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion from Member Lopez. We have a second from Dr. Gordon. Any further discussion by board members? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Before we are close to adjourning, I do want to comment for just a minute, if I may, about the enormous effort by the community to bring about this change. And I am impressed with the work you've done. I know that you are probably a little frustrated at the amount of time it has taken. And I think the entire board is regretful that it has taken this much time. But it is my hope, and I think the superintendent believes we can do that. I'll double check with the superintendent, but we discussed the possibility that if it went back out to the SAC, that we could get this process finished before the end of the school year, so that next school year we open that school with a new name. And hopefully, is my hope, and I share in Member Lopez's hope, that it is the first time that Orange County names a school that reflects our rich and incredibly vital and important Hispanic representation. So your input, I know what it feels like to come and walk away frustrated because you did not get the answer that you want. I can only tell you that I ran for commission because I didn't get the answer I want. And I have learned over time that sometimes you don't get the answer you want as quickly as you want it. But I have no question that you will stay the course. Please stay the course, and we will be back here in the very near future to celebrate the success that you're looking for. But I respect the decision of Member Lopez to send it back through the process that's been established, even though I know that you have worked very hard on the process. So let me call on Member Gallo, and we have Member Gordon and Member Cobert, who I think also want to speak to the issue. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You answered one of the questions I had, which was the time frame. So I was very encouraged to hear that this is going to happen rather quickly, and we'll get it done by the end of the year.
So let me just confirm that, because Dr. Jenkins and I had this conversation a couple of times about time frame, and that we can get that done. Okay. I think that's so important.
Okay.
This
so
is long enough.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm thrilled to hear that we'll have resolution for everybody that came out before the school year starts this coming August. I wanted to thank everybody who came out and testified today. You know, it meant a lot. We listened. I respect Member Lopez's decision. I know that she has your community in her heart, and she's truly asking to do what she believes is best for her community. And I agree that this is a very important decision, and I hope that when we find a decision, we find a name that it does reflect the community. And I love the input that was brought here tonight. I do think we do need to include the student input and the parental input at the school as well. So I respect and Member Lopez's decision tonight. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Member Gallo, and well said, and I concur with everything you just said. Thank you. Dr. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I too respect my fellow colleague in reference to her statement and in reference to sending it back to the SAC committee. However, I would be so different in the sense of urgency. I am not comfortable with the end of the school year. This has been going on. You all didn't have to sit through this. I sat through it with my fellow colleague out of that district. And to fairness to the community, I taught at Inglewood, and I keep telling you all, several of us were replaced and moved from Inglewood. That's how rough it was at that time, for just silly reasons, and we know what it was. I too want to appreciate the gentleman that got up and gave the history of the 1965 board members and how they were able to maneuver and do what they did because they maneuvered us back and forth and put us in fish bowls and drew our names out of that to send us to Inglewood. That's how I got to Inglewood. And those that were sent into our community didn't want to go, and most of them did not come. So therefore, we were without teachers within that community. I do want to say this. I commend School Board Member Lopez in reference to who were surveyed. I think that was wonderful, Joshua, for you bringing that survey in. But if I was the school board member, I would want to know, where did you go? What doors did you knock on? I'm very familiar with the Inglewood community, and 244 is a good number, but were they school people? You want to get people that's involved, like the father who got up and spoke about the goodness of the Hillcrest School, in which he transferred on out and want the Robert E. Well, not Robert E. Lee. My kids went there. Lord have mercy. The Stonewall Jackson. But were they students? Were they parents? Were they community leaders? Were they business leaders? I think the school board member have a right to know that, and we also have a right to know that, because we do get input, even though a lot of the renaming is the SAC and the school itself. However, sense of urgency just troubles me on this one. And in my community, it is up to her and you and the superintendent of what you want to do. But I hold emergency meetings. So how urgent is this for you? And that is what the board member of this district needs to let this board know. If you are pleased with May, and we need to know what board meeting this item will be hitting the consent agenda or either the non-consent agenda. Are you going to do it in March? We have a spring break in March. Are you going to do it in April? Are you going to do it in May? I think we've heard enough. I don't want to sit here and really hear the same thing and not saying the same thing. You voice your opinion, and I think she has a right to know the feeling of the other communities. I think that the SAC committee, Dr. Jenkins, I'm not telling you how to do it, but I've had emergency meetings with my SAC committee. And then going back and following the policies, bringing it back to the board as quickly as you can. So I don't know what the community is of your sense of urgency, other than for a few of you that have spoken. But I really need the school board member to let this board know what is your sense of urgency. I hear the chair and the superintendent discussing the end of the year, but the end of the year is going to be so darn busy for us. We have testing where we did not have testing before. All of May is just filled up with testing. We have 22 high schools that will be graduating. Our students that we have the Orange Technical Colleges that will be graduating. We have so many award programs, so many wonderful programs of dedication that we're going to be going to. So I would like to know where your sense of urgency for expediting this. I do believe in emergency meetings. I strongly believe in that. If this is a major sense of urgency for this board, but I do not feel, Madam Superintendent nor Madam Chair, and to my fellow colleague, being that I've been caught in this before my kids went to Robert E. Lee, and I heard somebody said it took 2 years. No. My oldest daughter is 50, 49 and a half. And she went to Robert E. Lee as a junior. Middle school, okay? It was, they started the 6, 7, 8 middle school is great mess. But all 3 of my children went to Robert E. Lee. And they graduated from Jones. One graduated in the 80s, one graduated in the 90s, and the last one graduated in 2001. So go back and do your numbers. And it was one gentleman that came before this board and spoke to us. And we asked him to go back to the Edgewood community and ask what was your sense of urgency. And that one man got the ball rolling and was able to bring it before this board and get that name from Robert E. Lee. We started at Orange Center Elementary trying to change Robert E. Lee before our kids even got to Robert E. Lee, because we felt like you did. We did not want our children. And the board that was sitting up here at that time told us in so many nasty words, physically told us, no. And it wasn't going to happen. And I'm being serious. So we left it alone. All of our children finished. And then that one gentleman came before this board and fought that battle and did it. So I commend you highly. And I don't know how long you want to wait and keep us waiting so we can move this agenda item and get it out of the way. Thank you so very much, Madam Chair and Madam Superintendent.
Member Lopez, do you want to respond? Thank you.
I believe that this is a sense of urgency. Obviously, I think my community is trying to change the name since 2017. But I would like to know how quickly can we do this? How fast can we do these surveys and find out the name? How, just asking to the superintendent so I can see how can we work this as fast as we can.
And Dr. Jenkins, if I could input one thing before you answer that question. Member Lopez, you had what I thought was an excellent idea in terms of engaging the students in researching. And obviously, everyone here has done their research, but the difference between being told and the difference between students doing this themselves is I was so profoundly impressed with that idea. As much as I'd like an answer today and everybody else would, what I thought was that when the students take the lead and you want to feel victorious and you want to accomplish something. No, I know that's not what all you want, but we all want to do that. We all want to know we make a difference. But I think if our students know that they too are part of this change, I don't know. There's an opportunity in what you suggested that I didn't see when I came in here. So when Dr. Jenkins answers, the only challenge I see with compressing this, if it were just a matter of going back to SAC and SAC just does some quick survey, what you've described, I'm wondering how that gets incorporated. But I do love the idea of students saying, we changed the name. And it's what you described so much in what happened, that sense of urgency, but I made a difference. And making a difference matters, and empowering our kids to know that they were part of making a difference. It was just brilliant. So thank you for that. Dr. Jenkins.
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of the board. So what we said was prior to the end of the school year. I believe it can be much sooner than the end of the school year, actually. That's why the principal and the area superintendent are here to hear that discussion. We believe we can both engage students and have our accountability folks help put together that survey after that engagement and have a quick turnaround for gathering that information for the SAC with the support of our district office.
And still include the students.
And still include the students. It's been done previously, and so we have a model that we can follow, and certainly we'll do that expeditiously. I don't think it'll go right up to the end of the school year. I think it'll be much sooner than the end of the school year.
Okay, excellent. I'm so glad that, to expedite it, but still to not leave that important part out that you included. I just, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I'm sorry, and
Dr.
if I may,
Jenkins.
they've also taken notes so that they can share with the SAC those individuals who had ideas and recommendations tonight. But individuals can certainly volunteer to be a part of the school, community volunteer at the school, Partners in Education, Adopt a School, but they can actually visit the SAC meetings as well if they want to share some of their ideas. But everything that was mentioned tonight will be taken to the next SAC meeting expeditiously.
Well, with that in mind, Madam Chair, since it's my question on the floor,
Sure,
I thank hearing from my colleague, Board Member Lopez, stating that she does have a sense of urgency. I'm happy to hear that our superintendent has a sense of urgency. I most certainly have a sense of urgency, and we've done it before. As Dr. Jenkins stated, we have had emergency meetings to get it done, and the superintendent's staff had been awesome with it. Now, there are going to be people, if you work with the superintendent staff, just giving you some heads up, they will come in with signs. They don't allow all of that. We have procedures that if we follow it, we had people with petitions going out, but when we got through with the naming of most of those schools that we had to name, we were able to, even the renaming, the only person fought me was Jerry Demings on the Richmond Heights, because he went to Richmond Heights Elementary and he didn't want us to change it to Washington Shores Presbyterian Learning, but we had to involve the babies, and that involved Dr. Jenkins, and we were not going to make our superintendent unhappy with getting the babies in there. So the main thing is, if you follow the superintendent and the staff, I assure you will be bringing that back to this board in a very timely manner. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Superintendent, and Board Member Lopez.
And Dr. Gordon, I went to Richmond Heights Middle School, but not here in Orange County. But how ironic, right? Is that crazy? Okay, Member Colbert, I need to apologize to you. We skipped over you in the essence of trying to respond to that, so forgive me, and you're now recognized. Hopefully, to close out this discussion.
No problem. I'll make this quick and
no need.
Try to bring this in for a landing. So first, I want to say to the community, I think that you can see from this board that you have our full support, and we are enormously proud of you as advocates. You're doing a great job, and I know for a fact we're going to get there. The urgency is not only in the timing, but the urgency is to get this right. One of the proudest days sitting up here at this school board was the day that we renamed College Park Middle School. I did feel that we made a correction in history, and I think we are absolutely going in that direction with your school. Our core business is to teach. So I love the idea, Member Lopez, of involving the students. Even if this takes us a few more weeks, the students there and in the future need to understand the reason why we're doing this. They need to know and understand history so that it doesn't repeat itself, and they can be a part of making this important change. And I would urge you, because you are such great advocates and because you are so well-spoken and eloquent, to go and speak to the SAC at the middle school, because anyone who hears what you all have to say can have no other decision to make but to go in this direction. So you have our support. I'm very proud of Member Lopez for being so thoughtful and deliberate in this process. It would be very easy for her to make a unilateral decision, but she wants to involve the entire community, and for that she has all of our respect.
Thank you.
Those are my comments.
Thank you. Absolutely. And I think the only thing I will add to that is not only do we teach, but if we do our very best in education, we empower. And that's what your proposal will do. It will require the children to learn, but it will also empower the ones who engage in knowing that they are capable of making this change and giving to them the credit, which is, I cannot describe what that means to a young person to realize that they were part of affecting the change. So anyway, congratulations on your motion and your support here today. You have my full support. And with that, oh, I'm sorry, we haven't voted? I think we voted. Yeah, we did. We voted, and I decided just to make sure everybody understood, and then it opened up a full discussion. And so, Dr. Jenkins, anything else for your report? Anything else for you? Please.
So I want to talk about the coronavirus. I hate to end on a more negative note. We've had some questions from individuals. I had a call from a national news media as well today, wondering what school systems were doing in order to be prepared for the coronavirus should there be additional outbreaks.
Thank you.
So a couple of things I wanted to make sure the board and general public would be aware of concerning this. Number one, it certainly is a new virus. It's spread from person to person and causes respiratory illness. The important issue for all of our schools, and this information will be going out to schools as well, is that the symptoms are flu-like and severity can range from mild to severe. Of course, it can also be fatal. Since there is no vaccine at this time, prevention measures are the same as for the flu. That is our best prevention measure at this point. We've been in touch with the health department. All of our departments here have been engaged. If we were under a flu outbreak and seeing several cases of flu, the immediate prevention measures, since there is no vaccine, are identical. So I want to mention those to the group and to those who might be listening. Means you wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. You avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. You avoid close contact with people who are sick. It's important. If you are sick, this is important for parents to hear, for students as well. If you run a temperature, that means you are probably contagious. It might just be the flu, it might just be a cold, but stay at home if you are sick. And to those students who I have that are quite creative, that doesn't mean you can place a thermometer on a light bulb and then claim that you need to stay home. So parents, be mindful that children who are really sick need to stay home. Another really important matter, we had this, everyone was so strict about this when we had serious flu outbreaks, and I think we become lax about it. If you're sneezing or coughing, you need a tissue, or you cough into your sleeve or your cuff, not into a bare hand that then spreads the germs elsewhere. So cough into your sleeve, into your cuff, or into a Kleenex. And then you clean, disinfect frequently touched areas and surfaces where individuals have handled it. Both our custodians, our food nutrition services, and others are on alert for this. The best we can do at this point is to use the same protocols we use for the flu. And so I want to encourage everyone to know that we are on top of that. Related to the coronavirus, they're passing the hand sanitizers now. Related, and you don't touch your face with your hands on a regular basis. It is how you spread infection. Additionally, related to the coronavirus, Robert Curran, who is at home with the flu, actually called me last week and said, we have to make an order for our digital devices because coronavirus is going to have an impact and you won't be able to get your technology for next year. And so last week, because we've not had an extensive conversation, we've not been able to make a determination, I did say go ahead and make the immediate order for the 2-to-1 ratio for our elementary schools. We will have time to make subsequent orders depending on where we land on that. But I wanted you to know, based on that same outbreak, we are desperately concerned, and last week made a decision to go ahead and make our first order for the 2-to-1 ratio for our digital devices in our elementary school cohort 2 that will be coming online next year. I assure you we will stay on top of all of these issues around the virus and certainly in touch with our local health department, but your team has a sufficient plan in place and communication out to schools to try to keep our children safe. We need our parents to partner with us as well in keeping any child who's not feeling well at home.
And any teacher.
Any teacher who's not feeling well.
Don't make us stay home.
And principals. Don't put the thermometer next to the light bulb. But any employee who is sick, it's what we've said to staff here as well. We had an outbreak. Shouldn't say an outbreak, that scares people, but we had a couple of instances of what we believe was the flu. In one department, it was just wiping folks out. Someone came back to work. They were still feverish. They said, you need to go home. So it's considerate of your fellow employees, as well as other students, that if you're sick, you have to stay home until you recover. In case anyone's concerned, mine are allergies. I have no temperature. I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, absolutely. Vice Chair Gould.
I just wanted to give you a healthcare trick on the best way to contain any kind of spread of infection is when it's the 20-second washing, but if you sing happy birthday twice with soap, that's what we teach healthcare workers, sing happy birthday twice. Yep. So, and the kids can remember that. It's a song they know.
Okay. Well, I have never heard that one. Thank you. Dr. Jenkins, anything else? Thank you so much for that update. I know it was on everybody's mind, and we really appreciate you bringing that forward. Ms. Enville, do you have a report? Okay. We have no committee reports from board members. Dr. Jenkins, anything else to come before the board? All right, then this meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.